All right, so today we got the Greeks. What are option Greeks? Okay, so the Greeks, these are just fancy words used not just to make people in finance look smarter and feel more important, they do.
Don't you know who I am?
But more importantly, as a quick way to describe the different variables used to assess risk and price with regards to options. Today I'm just going to speak about delta, vega, theta, gamma, and rho, as they are the ones used with regards to the Black-Scholes formula used to price options. Unless you're pretty comfortable with options in general, I would suggest you take 10 minutes out of your time and watch my previous video diving into options. That'll give you the structure necessary for what we're driving into today. I will be speaking briefly on each of these Greeks, and then I'll put them into an analogy to help you understand the principles and really drive it home. Delta. Delta is the rate of change between the options price and a dollar change in the underlying asset's price. Theta. Theta is the rate of change between the option price and time, aka its time decay. Gamma. Gamma is the rate of change between an option's delta and the underlying asset's price. Essentially, it's the delta of the delta. All right, that makes it a second derivative Greek. Vega. Okay, Vega is not really a Greek letter. Okay, they say it is, but it's not. But Vega is how sensitive your option is to volatility, as it represents the rate of change between an option's value and the underlying asset's implied volatility. What's implied volatility? Implied volatility means it's simply the stock or the underlying asset's future price movement as opposed to its historical or realized volatility, which can be calculated by looking backwards at the price movements of an asset over a given period of time. To give you a better idea of implied volatility, when the market is expected to be calm, there'll be a low IV, or low implied volatility. When there is a lot of uncertainty and there's potential risks ahead for the market or the stock or both, IV could be higher. Specifically with regards to Vega, it is the amount that an option contract's price reacts to a 1% change in the underlying asset's implied volatility. Rho. This Greek represents the change between an option's value and a 1% change in the interest rate, essentially measuring sensitivity to interest rates. There is one thing I want to add with respect to Rho. If you're long call options, you don't need to pay cash up front other than the premium. Therefore, if interest rates are higher, it's better for a call option owner than it would be for a stockholder whose cash is all in on this position and not generating interest elsewhere. Okay, so now I'll explain it the best way I've ever heard it explained to me. We already went through before what they are, the definitions, and that's still confusing. So let's try to clean it up and explain it in terms of a car analogy. Okay, so picture the option as a car, and you're on a road trip to a destination. And when we arrive at that destination, that will be your expiration date, okay? So the Greeks are all variables that will affect the journey in one way or another. So charge up the iPads, fill up that Yeti, turn on the new Post Malone country album F1, and don't forget the dog. Road trip!
It's supposed to be a challenge. That's why they call it a shortcut. If it was easy, it would just be the way.
Delta. Delta is your speedometer. It's how fast your options price changes with the stock's price. Delta is how fast we're going on our trip. It measures how much the price of an option changes in response to a change in the price of the underlying asset. And in our case, throughout all of these examples, a stock. Specifically, delta shows how much the option's price will move for every $1 move in the stock price. So a high delta, let's say the option is deep in the money, the delta will be high, close to 1. This means that for every dollar the stock moves, the option's price moves almost the same amount. It's like driving at a high speed where a small change in your speed results in a similar change in the distance that you cover. A low delta. If the option is out of the money, OTM, the delta will be close to 0. This means that the option's price is not as responsive to changes in the stock price. It's like driving a car at a crawl in congested traffic where it's bumper to bumper, the avenue's packed. So small changes in speed don't result in much total movement or ground cover. The delta can range from 0 to 1 for call options and 0 to -1 for put options. For example, if a call option is worth $5 and has a delta of 40 cents, and the underlying stock price increased by $1 from $25 to 26, then the value of that option increases by 50 cents from $5 to $5.50, okay? Theta. Theta is your gas tank, all right? This is how much your option loses value over time due to time decay. Think about theta as how much gas we're guzzling. Essentially, the value of your option will decrease over time if everything else stays the same. This is because there's less time for the option to become profitable as expiration gets closer. High theta. A high theta means the option loses value quickly with each passing day. It's like driving a car where your gas tank is depleting fast. Every minute counts, and every day it depletes faster and faster and faster. This is typically the case for at-the-money options that are near expiration. Low theta. A low theta means the option's value doesn't decrease as rapidly. It's like driving with a more fuel-efficient car.
It's a Prius.
Where the gas tank lasts longer, meaning the value of the option decays slower. So theta is generally higher for options that are closer to expiration and those that are at the money. Long options, like calls or puts, lose value over time due to time decay, and theta is indicated as a negative number. Short options would have positive theta because the option is becoming cheaper as time depletes. The best way to understand theta is through a graph that illustrates the convexity, read curvature here, of time in relation to the option's value. So here's an example. A stock is trading at $25. You're looking to buy a call with a $27 strike price, and it expires in 30 days. Now the option would cost you $2 for one option. Suppose the theta for this option is negative 0.05. And let's assume every other variable remains constant here, including the share price. So in 10 days, you would assume a 50 cent, 10 days times negative 0.05 theta drop. And this would make your $2 option now $1.50. Gamma. Gamma is your acceleration pedal. It's how much speed delta changes as the stock moves. Gamma measures the rate of change of delta. In other words, it shows how much delta would change as the price of the underlying stock changes. It reflects the option's sensitivity to the changes in the stock price and how quickly the option's price reacts to that movement. High gamma. High gamma means that the delta will change rapidly as your stock moves. This is like having a super sensitive accelerator pedal. So let's say you're in a 911, you're going 50 down the highway, and you want to overtake. Mike! And you're already in a low gear with high revs on the engine and you floor it. That move takes you to 70 miles per hour quickly. That 20 mile per hour acceleration is your gamma. This typically happens when options are near the strike price, so at the money, where delta can swing dramatically with small stock price movements. Conversely, if your car starts to decelerate quickly because you're in a low gear with high revs without stepping on the gas pedal, that deceleration is also your gamma. This decrease in gamma happens when the stock moves away from the strike price. Low gamma. Low gamma means your delta changes slowly. This is like driving a car with a less sensitive accelerator pedal, where speed changes are more gradual and predictable. Gamma is the highest for options that are at the money and decreases as the options move further in or out of the money. High gamma options provide greater potential for rapid price changes, but also greater risk. Also remember, long options are said to have positive gamma, whereas short options would have negative gamma. Here's an example. You have an option at $25 and the strike is also $25. So the delta would be 50 here as it's at the money. And let's say the option's gamma is 3. So if the future stock price moves $1 to $26, you'd look at it like this. 50 is the current option delta plus 3 gamma. That would move your new delta to 53, which means that for every dollar move, your option delta increases more rapidly than it did before. Vega. Vega is the road conditions. It's how much market volatility affects your option's value. Vega measures an option's sensitivity to changes in volatility, basically like the Weather Channel and the Waze app all getting together to tell you exactly how the road you're about to travel on is looking for the course of your journey. When market volatility increases, the price of the option tends to rise because there's a greater chance the option will end up in the money. Higher uncertainty equals higher potential for large moves. Conversely, if volatility decreases, option prices tend to drop. High Vega. High Vega means the option's price is very sensitive to changes in volatility. It's like driving on a bumpy, unpredictable road where conditions can change rapidly. Maybe there's even a tornado warning in effect or areas with black ice before you reach your destination. And the ride, the option's value, can get a big move with a small change in road conditions. Low Vega. Low Vega means the option's price is less affected by volatility. This is like driving on a smooth road. Picture the Autobahn here, where volatility doesn't have as big of an impact on the value of your ride. So Vega tends to be higher for options with longer expiration dates because more things can happen before you reach your expiration. The impact of volatility decreases as your expiration date nears, especially for deep in the money options. Also worth noting that Vega is positive for long options and negative for short options. Rho. Rho is the cost of fuel.
How much? 69, see?
How interest rate changes affect the cost of holding your option. Rho measures the sensitivity of an option's price to changes in interest rates. It's kind of the least popular Greek because basically interest rates usually aren't really whipping around constantly, so traders aren't as focused on it. Rho reflects how the price of an option will change when the interest rates rise or fall. This is generally more relevant for longer dated options because interest rates have a larger impact on the present value of future cash flows as well as options that are at the money. High Rho. High Rho means that the options price is more sensitive to changes in interest rates. It's like driving a car that's very sensitive to fluctuations in fuel prices, like a Bugatti. If interest rates increase, the cost of holding the option would increase, reducing the option's value. Similarly, if the interest rates decrease, the option could increase in value. Low Rho. Low Rho means that the option's price is less sensitive to interest rate changes. It's like driving a fuel-efficient hybrid Prius where changes in fuel prices, interest rates, won't affect the cost of your trip as much. So call options have a positive Rho, meaning they tend to increase in value when interest rates rise, whereas put options have a negative Rho, meaning they tend to decrease in value when interest rates rise. So bringing this whole trip together, right? Each of these Greeks help you better understand the risks and rewards associated with options and can give you deeper insight into how options behave under different market conditions. You can calculate all these theoretical metrics, but really the broker you're using should have these readily available on their OMS. Again, that's an order management system, okay? Always remember that options can be a powerful investment vehicle in your paddock. But when you get into an options contract, you have to provide proper daily maintenance on your option. Don't just get into an options contract and then wait for the expiration date. That's a car wreck waiting to happen. You may need to trade around it if it's not fully hedged, or trade a bit more on the pickup on volatility, or even the lack of it. Options trading demands a solid understanding of these Greeks in order to ascertain guidance in how to manage your options trading more effectively and profitably. I know this is a complicated subject matter, but the thing is, not knowing your Greeks does put you at a disadvantage, even if you're not trading options. In a future video, I'll go into different option strategies and why looking at different Greeks helps you understand what's happening in the market. What are the market dynamics? They can all paint you a really good picture that help you invest more wisely. But today I just wanted to cover the basics for now. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed the ride. Please hit the like and subscribe button to stay in the loop for more content to come, and thanks again for watching. And remember, kindness is the rent we pay on earth, so do something nice for someone. Thanks, guys.